Hi, this is Chance Post with VentureX Frisco, and today I'm here with Maher Maso, the former mayor of Frisco. Welcome to VentureX Frisco.
Chance, thanks for having me. Glad to be here with you today.
We are so happy to be here, and one of the things, as you know a lot about Frisco, and I know as the ex-mayor, and you do a lot of business in Frisco, and VentureX, we're kind of, we're in the middle of Frisco, and I wanted to ask you, what do you see in Frisco, like what with the growth, what do you see coming?
Well, obviously, Frisco is what we call hypergrowth, right? I moved here in '92. It was a farm, 6,000 people. Everybody was related. It was, you couldn't buy a pair of socks in town. And then today, now we're over 200,000. It's been an amazing growth story, but really it's driven by economic development, and it's driven by job creation and education. And where VentureX really fits that model of providing space for those that are still growing, number one,
Right.
or two, the companies that may be relocating to here, just getting their feet planted, getting started. For the Frisco Economic Development Corporation, it was always a three-stage process. Their job, their mission was, number one, to get corporate relocations from outside the area, companies that want to move here. Two is also to help the companies that are here. We call it business retention and expansion. You never want to forget about those that brought you to the dance, right? These
Right.
companies that created jobs. You want to still support them, help them grow. And the third thing is really what's important for what VentureX is doing, which is grow your own companies. The next Google, the next Facebook.
Right.
You never know when they're going to start. So VentureX gives you that platform of where you're getting started. You want a place that's professional, a place that has all those resources you may need in one place to get you started. It's a lot easier now for some of these companies.
Right.
Although startups are always hard, but much easier than doing it in your garage, right? It's
Right.
the old story.
Yeah, it's funny. So now you think Bill Gates wouldn't have to start in his
That's
garage.
exactly right.
He could have came over to
Yeah,
VentureX.
yeah. And I grew up in Seattle when Microsoft started. It was interesting times. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome. I think that's a really big key, and I do appreciate you coming in. The other aspect is, which you don't even know, but I have been working with the Economic Development Committee, and as things move towards video, towards podcasting, they are thinking about starting a podcast for the Economic Development Committee. So
Sure.
those guys came in, toured actually earlier this week.
Cool.
So it was really, really neat, and it's one of those things. It was a perfect timing with you coming in, and with the connections you have there.
Well, companies need to always adapt. They say that the communication is key. The medium will change, and today podcasts are popular and they're useful, and so they should be taking advantage of that. But tomorrow may be something else. More important than anything else is having the structure and the process in place to be able to communicate your message, to discuss what's important to the community. In Frisco's case, and now, obviously I was the mayor of Frisco, and I talk a lot about Frisco, but we're all little islands here. It's really regional. Companies that are located here, their employees live everywhere, and Frisco now is really an international community. So it's always good to remember we're a region. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is, last I checked, was around 7.5 million people. It's going to grow to over 10 million.
Wow.
Frisco today is about 200,000. It'll be approximately 350 to 400, just depending on the densities. And so the growth, we're not quite done yet here, and the region is not quite done. So there's still a lot of opportunities.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing growth that we have. Do you want to mention anything about what you're doing now?
Well, yeah, sure. Well, I thought, when you're a mayor, it's very broad. You're
Right.
reading book to a third grader, or meeting the Dalai Lama or the CEO of a company in Japan.
Right.
So it's very broad. But one of the things I really focused on was economic development. Everything revolved around job creation. And so what I do now, I'm with a company called Ryan. It's the largest non-accounting tax firm in the world, and with 52 practice areas. So what we do is all the things I did as mayor, I do for them, which is public-private partnerships, site selection. We have a lot of companies coming into the area from overseas or nationally.
Right.
Do incentives, put together those public-private partnership where a city can participate with a company and create even more jobs.
Right.
And so all those things that I did previously, I'm still doing today. It's
Right.
fun. I enjoy it. And you create situations where everyone wins.
Right.
Everyone benefits. The community benefits. The taxpayer benefits, and then the company
Right.
benefits. And there's ways to structure that, as you can see in Frisco from the
Right.
different projects we have going
Yeah, I
on.
mean, obviously Frisco, fastest growing city. I mean, the last 10 years, I mean, it's been forever. What, so now with your role, I know you talk with a lot of heads of companies and you consult with, multiple large corporations. With COVID now, and, we're trying to get back to work. How do you see the near future with we're basically we're at like 50%. So, occupancy we're trying to work.
Sure.
And I know some of the larger, we deal a lot of mid-sized companies here and startups. And I was curious what some of the larger companies are doing.
Well, I actually wrote about that on my LinkedIn, so anybody's welcome to join on there and take a look at that. First, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, it is very challenging times, and depending what sector you're in. But there's also opportunities. For example, I discussed site selection. A lot of the big companies now are using this pause to really look and ask questions. Are we in the right place? Are we doing the right thing? Before, the economy was strong and companies were successful, so they didn't really want to rock the boat. And that's what I wrote about is, they just didn't want to make changes or take risks. Well, now there's no water under the boat. It's sitting on dry ground, right?
Right.
And now the good companies are really thinking strategically about evaluating all aspects of their business. And so that creates opportunities for communities and places like VentureX where companies are making some changes and they may be relocating to this area. Another thing is, and again, I wrote about that, my version of this, and I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but I really broke it down into 3 phases. And phase 1 is what we're all seeing today. It's very visible, very obvious. It was based on cash flow. Basically, hospitality shut down overnight, restaurants, hotels, sporting events, and you could see that. Anybody could see. You didn't have to be an economist. The cash flow stopped. Companies went out of business. Restaurants shut down. Some couldn't pay their rent. Landlords couldn't pay their loans because they weren't getting rent. Very visible. What I'm really, really worried about is phase 2 and phase 3. That what I call phase 2 and phase 3. And phase 2 and 3 are really based on unemployment. You can forget everything else you're hearing. All you have to do is look at unemployment numbers. Right now, they're not real because there's a lot of subsidies taking place and people are still getting checks. But if that goes away and the real numbers show themselves, they're going to be historically high. I had a conference call a couple of months ago with the president of the Dallas Fed. And at the time, and these numbers are evolving and moving, but at the time they anticipated almost 20% unemployment rate for the first quarter through the end of June, basically. And they were hopeful that the numbers would be settled down to 8 to 10% by the end of the year. Well, 8 to 10% is historically pretty high. That's millions of people. And phase 2 really is if unemployment stays high, you're going to have issues with big ticket items, car purchases, leasing, the downstream, the auction houses and parts, and of course mortgages. It's a long process for foreclosures. Clearly, if that many people are unemployed, some payments are going to be missed, and so I worry about the housing market. We're not seeing it today, but the ramifications.
Well, I know those the extra unemployment checks end of this month. And I know the banks were still reporting numbers right now, which were not that bad, but of course, all the stimulus is still in the economy. People are still paying if they're getting their checks. They haven't seen the spike in the defaults.
A 1% unemployment rate makes a huge impact, and we're talking historical high numbers. The third phase is really worries me too, and being the former mayor, I understand budgets really well, and I worry about cities and governmental entities. Again, their budget year, they're working on their budget now. Property taxes, sales tax collections obviously can be down. So what can they do? Well, we know that a good portion of their budget is public safety. You really can't cut that out. So what goes away? How do they reduce their budget? And typically what will happen is capital projects, roads, buildings. Cities are forever, so they're going to want to probably put those projects off. Today, you're not seeing that because what you're seeing under construction and roads under construction, that's been in the pipeline 3 to 5 years. What's it gonna look like next year? That's my phase 3. Is if you don't build a road, well, there's construction companies and cement and gravel and the downstream impacts of governmental, whether it's a NTTA or TxDOT or a city or the state. I don't think we've seen that yet. and I think you're going to start seeing glimpses of that soon.
Right. That's really, you've got a wealth of knowledge. And once again, so you publish that on your LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
Is that the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. So all you got to do is Google my name and find 100 ways to get a hold of me. But
Okay.
yeah, LinkedIn is great. It's Maher, Maher, Maso, Maso. But my email works. It's Maher, Maher at masos.com. So yeah, I'm easy to find. When
You're
you're a
right.
public official.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It was a pleasure to spend time with you, and we'll put your contact information in the bottom of
And
the video.
thanks for having me. It's great. I know this is short, but I would just tell people, I would leave it at, keep your chin up.
Right.
We've been through a lot as a country and as people, and we always come together. Again, there's opportunities. You just need to shift how you're looking at things and adapt. And I think we're resilient people here, so we'll figure it out.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Chance.